Hello, good evening, good afternoon, and good morning, depending where you are. Welcome to Connect Africa. So, here we are again on our daily live streaming session. Tonight, we have a very important and I think a hot topic that's ongoing in Africa and also, for amongst Africans, both at home and in the diaspora. It's about African immigrants. So without further ado, we have here our guest, discussant, Sister Josiane Dongmo.
Yeah,
Welcome.
thank you. Thank you very much, Mahlet. I'm happy to be here.
All right, we are glad to have you here. So, based on your recent post on LinkedIn, I like always the intentions and the stories behind what kind of formulated and shaped our discussion tonight. Let me just say something, and I will go to the questions, and I would like to introduce you also briefly. So to our viewers, welcome to Connect Africa, a channel where we don't dodge the difficult conversations. Today's guest is Josiane Dongmo, a bold thinker, a respected entrepreneur, and a woman whose recent post on immigration and brain drain hit a nerve across Africa and the diaspora. She challenges the sentimentality of claiming our people abroad and forces us to ask, why did we lose them in the first place? This isn't just about migration, it's about what it means to belong, to build, and to believe in home. Josan, welcome again, and thank you for joining us. Did we lose Josiane? Perhaps. Okay, so I was saying, welcome, Josiane. Thank you for joining us. Did you hear me introducing you?
Yeah, I did. I did.
All right, all right. Okay, then allow me to go to the question. So, my first question is actually this blame and versus responsibility. Now, there is a long tradition of blaming the West for Africa's woes, like colonialism, slavery, and now even migration. But at what point do we stop, pointing fingers and take responsibility for what we have failed to build here? So my question to you is that, do you think African governments are using migration as a distraction, like blaming the West while ignoring the systems that push our people to live in the first place?
Um, I am personally not going to say that they are using migration to blame the West, but one thing that what I can say is that to an extent, because they are failing, because that's the fact, because somehow some have failed us, not all government, of course. I want everything I'm going to be saying here is really relative, but because many governments have failed us, their governments are kind of like their youths are kind of like fleeing away to look for better opportunities. Now, I don't really think they are the ones that are turning us against the West. We are going against the West for personal reasons. People can be saying things against the West for personal reasons. That's what I meant to say. And personal reasons, which could be maybe what they have learned about, the past, maybe what they're experiencing while they are in Europe and stuff like that. But intrinsically, nobody can really blame the West for the fact that there is a massive migration. And I don't think our governments really do that. It's just the fact that they have failed us in a sense that has caused many young people from their countries to be like, I'm going out to find my way somehow.
Okay, I mean, thank you for that. So now, following on that, I would like to raise when it comes to migration, there's always, the understanding, or perhaps it could be true, but in my mind, I think, there's a lot of human trafficking and people pay for that. And who is actually then that raises, at least at some point, I was really about to make a documentary about it. Who is really migrating? Is it those who are looking for economic opportunity? Is it the rich people? Is it the elite? So now let me just say this. Now people talk about desperate migration, but the truth is, most Africans who live spend thousands of dollars, right? So often through illegal networks to get out of the country and then out of the continent as well. This is not always the poorest of the poor, as many of us have perceived it. Now the question is, would you say migration, especially to the West, has become a business of the African elite, those with means, but not, necessarily with a belief in the future of the continent?
I will speak for the countries that I kind of have an idea on. I don't really know much about the what causes migration, maybe in Ethiopia or maybe countries in the east. But for what I know, in Cameroon, where I come from, and even Nigeria, because we kind of have similar realities, people mostly leave the country because of difficulties. They are not being lured into living. And I don't really think our governments are proud to see them leave. I don't really think so. Like, it be the government or the elite, I don't really think they are proud to see people leave. We just got to a point where there are no opportunities. They are, but like there are not enough opportunities for the people anymore, or the opportunities they find are not good enough for their qualifications, and they decide to, what, I'm going to go. From what I hear, things are better in England, things are better in France, things are better in Canada. So instead of staying here and not finding a job, I'd rather just find a way to bring together some money and migrate to those countries. So maybe, I don't know, maybe in some countries some people have made a business out of it, maybe. And it's true that there is a lot of transaction, there's a lot of money going on with all of these practices. But at the end of the day, it isn't really our government or the elites that are really eating out of the money. It's really like the countries that are welcoming us, especially for those that are traveling the right way. Personally, I came here for a master's degree.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of millions. You live in the country, you are working, your intellectual property, you are putting it in the service of the country where you are paying bills with the money they pay you. You pay bills, whether you buy homes or whatever thing, you are really investing into the system. So those that are really benefiting from the transaction is the country that is welcoming you. Yeah, it's the country that is taking you
Interesting.
in, and also not really the elites. Even if they are, I don't really think they are. Not really. I don't really think it's the government or the elites. I just think because they are failing, people are leaving. But the real transaction, where the money is going, is the country that is taking you in. When you are going legally, you have to put a certain amount in your account already. We are talking about millions. You go to the country, if you are going for education, you are paying millions again for the into the education, to get the quality education and stuff like that. And basically, you are enriching the rich country with the money you got from the poor country. That's actually basically where the difficulty is. Because for one person to travel in Africa, sometimes the family gathers money, they sell
Yeah.
lands, houses,
Yeah.
and these are poor people gathering the little they have left to channel into the country where there is already kind of wealth. But I will not blame the West for it. This particular one, honestly, I will not blame the West. I won't blame the West for people. In fact, they don't want Africans to be coming this much to their countries. There are so many financial barriers, but we go through so many things because we want to come into these countries. So yeah, I won't call it on the leaders. I won't target them. I won't.
When I say the leaders, it is the leaders of the African governments. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, Yeah, even at that, I won't. I won't say they are encouraging migration. I think our president Biya, he made a statement about the massive migration, because between 2021 and now, the migration rates of Cameroonians out is, I mean, it has gone over. It has gone over the roof. So many have decided to go towards Canada, and he had to make a statement, during the end of year, telling people not to leave. Though nobody really took pay attention to it, because I mean, things are not going well. So I don't think the governments really want the people to leave. They are not just doing the what they have to do to make sure that the youth stay.
I think I have so many follow-up questions on that, but then not wanting you, I mean, not really literally you, but not wanting those African citizens not to live is one thing, but on the other hand, also not doing anything
Mm,
to create that conducive environment for them to stay is another thing, right? You cannot just
exactly.
tell the people to stay. So another thing also what I picked, so because we have to differentiate when we speak, there are those who are coming legally and there are those who are coming illegally. So
Mhm.
what we just explained maybe perhaps concerns the legal ones or even the illegal ones. They both of them, they are investing money in the system of the hosting country or the West, right?
Yeah, somehow it should. The legal ones invest more. I'll say
Okay,
that they invest more from, they invest in literally from the visa applications. I mean, they invest so much from the language proficiency tests
yeah.
that you are required to do. That's a lot of money already that is being required. Language proficiency tests, they pay. Sometimes they go through processes, just to pile up everything you need for your application at the embassy. Then you have the visa fee. When you're applying for the visa, there is a fee you pay. That's money. The flight ticket, that's money. When you get into the country, before you get to the country, I mean, you have to have kept a certain amount to prove that you can sustain yourself. That's maybe for the students, or maybe it's your first time going, or you don't have a family member that can take that responsibility. So in France, if we are talking about 4.6 million. That's a lot of money in our context.
So you
Okay,
are paying for your studies? No, it's a scholarship.
I paid for my studies.
Wow.
Yeah. So all of these transactions, you are paying for all of this. I mean, the chain is really long. So before you come in and before you start producing a single, I mean, making money out of the system, you have already invested so much. I mean, I don't even want to get into how much my fee was, because I went to a business school here, one of the best business schools in France. I don't even want to get into how much that costs. So there is so much the amount of money that is invested is kind of impressive. It's kind of impressive. And now, as I usually say, I'm not against migration. Okay, I'm really not against. I believe that we as Africans, we need to travel, but we need to know why and how we're traveling. We don't just have to, see a place like that is where everything good happens, and you carry everything you have and go, like, this is, I'm going to stay here forever. I think we should be more strategic, rather, in the way we approach migration. We should be more strategic. And it's the same thing. Europeans they travel a lot. Asians a little less, but they do travel. Americans a little less, but they do travel. When you travel, you discover things, you learn. Okay, you learn. I came here, I'd learned a good number of things, but there was a certain exposure that I got when I came to France. The cultures and everything. You have the chance to observe many more things, and it gives you more perspective in the way you approach you approach life in general, even business, money, development, and all of this. So I believe that we should travel. Just that we shouldn't have that mindset of I'm traveling because that is the sky, that is the moon, and I want to go where everything is perfect. We should have the perspective, I'm going to learn, I'm going to build experience, but I come from somewhere, and I don't have to forget where I'm coming from. We need that pride of I am Ethiopian, I am Cameroonian, I'm Nigerian, and I'm in a foreign land. I'm doing well in the foreign land, but I belong somewhere. So what I'm doing should be, I mean, it should be able to, it should be beneficial for where I'm coming from. That's a fact. When we have entrepreneurs from these countries, when they come to Africa, they love Africa. I mean, there is sun and all of this, and some really have a good time. But they don't forget that even if they are making how many millions on our grounds, they don't forget that home is where family is where they grew up, where they were born, or something. They don't forget where they came from. So I think that's the mindset that we need to have, instead of just, yeah,
Okay.
stacking up ourselves in people's countries and just complaining about racism and all of this. If you people are stacking up my home, I'm going to complain about your presence, honestly. So I think we just need to review our approach to immigration. I'm not against it, but I just feel like we should have another perspective on the reasons why we travel to people's countries.
A very interesting point. Two things I'm gonna pick. First of all, okay, we should know, we should be strategic, we should be, maybe perhaps a better word, intentional when we travel, right?
Mm,
Then we don't lose that connection. Then that comes also a lot of other things which you also raised in your on your post. It's very like brief thing, but it makes you to think a lot. That's what it made me basically when I
mm,
read your post. So what about those African diaspora who are born and raised outside, who don't know their continent, let alone if the parents or the first generation uh,
yeah.
is already disconnected? Just think of, the children and others. Yeah, that is one. So there is a missing gap. So we should work on that to fill that gap, that belongingness where
Mm,
we come from, our root. The second thing, you said you're not against migration. We should travel, and that
yeah.
is actually the nature of human people. I mean, Africa is the cradle of human origin, but we have seen the Kemet people, the black people, not the current Egyptians, the Arabs, but the first black people were, the human originated in East Africa, along the way Nile River, right? They
Mm,
have traveled also somewhere else, to other parts of the world. So probably traveling is a human nature. But the thing is, when we talk about it that way, then it comes to the point, it's luxury. Travel is luxury for Africans, isn't it?
yeah.
Usually people go seeking an economic opportunity, or it's a political asylum, but mostly it's economical opportunity. Then they don't want to go back. uh yeah, so it's yeah, that's where it left me thinking. Now, um I can't help but to think, now this brings us, because at some point you raised, for example, your president Paul Biya has talked about, for people not to leave, and you don't think that governments in Africa are actually happy to leave the continent, or to leave, our countries in Africa. But what about those governments who are, sending away the skilled youth? Look, I'm going to paint a scenario for you. We have seen African governments literally sign agreements with Europe to export skilled youth, nurses, engineers, IT workers, in exchange for remittances, just to get foreign currency and aid. Now it's a modern form of resource extraction. Before it was our natural resources, our minerals and others. Now it is human power. Human is being exported, right? So now the question is, what do you think about African leaders who treat educated youth as economic exporters, trading brains for foreign currency instead of investing in jobs and systems to keep them there at home?
Um, on that point, I really don't know the perspective they have, when they take those decisions. But one thing that I can say is that that is also a strategy to make sure your youths can work. Because remember, I said it's important that we get to travel. It's important we get to travel. So maybe their perspective is, we can send these ones if they are here and we can't provide opportunities for them, right? The market is saturated. They are not job spots. So to reduce the pressure they are putting on us because they can't find work, we will permit them, to work in these countries, gain some experience, and probably come back, maybe. But I know very little about this particular subject. I'm going to be honest.
Uh,
But I just feel like
Countries
maybe if
like,
we
for
can see
example,
from that
Kenyan
angle.
government, Malawi government, they have agreed. For example, Malawi, I was talking about it on my channel yesterday. They have sent their people to Israel and they're working basically in the farm. And I was asking, is the Malawi government asking the whereabouts of its people now that the war is going on there? Kenyan government basically agreed with government of Germany to send more than 20,000 or something skilled youth from Kenya to Germany. And then in exchange for them to send only bank, not this, what they call black market, but through banks so that the government get foreign currency, you see. Tanzania, the same thing, have agreed. Yeah, so I just wanted to give you those examples.
Yeah, I won't say, as I said earlier, I won't go condemning them, literally. What I think is that what we need to look at is what are the conditions of the agreements. Have they structured it such that the ones that are traveling, I mean, like, they are well taken care of? The opportunities, are they good opportunities for these ones? And is there a good politic to welcome them back home? Is there a politic that welcomes them back home and that values the skills they must have they learned when they left the country to go abroad? So I don't think it's something that we should just condemn. I won't put it like that, right? I just believe that it's something we should look at with perspective. And you asked a really good question, that what is the government doing about the young ones that went to Israel? Is the government finding out if they are doing well? If they just ship those guys, if they just send them out, like, go and work, and right now with everything going on, they are not, checking their whereabouts, then there is a problem. That's why I'm saying that we really have to look at what are the structures, okay, that have been put in place by these governments to protect their citizens. But I don't think it's a bad thing that they can secure opportunities for their citizens abroad if they can't, if those ones can't find opportunities within the country. It's just they just need to make sure that those going are, well, how do I say, that they are well, the conditions are well structured. That's how I see it. You're muted. I can't hear you.
Okay, no, I hear what you're saying. So unless we see the conditions of, for example, that, like, for example, how the Kenyan government is agreed with the German and what are the things there. But in any case, I think we can agree on one thing: this will result a brain drainage.
Sure.
It,
Sure.
yeah, it massively contribute to that. Now let's go, okay, to the solution part. Now, from an African business perspective, I am asking you this. You are not just a thinker, you are a doer, a businesswoman, someone who understands how the system grows, right? So from your lens as an entrepreneur, what practical solutions, not theories, really practical solutions, would help to slow down brain drain and rebuild trust in African opportunities?
I think we have an issue with a mindset. I think we have a mindset issue on the continent. I think just generally, we are not really promoting a culture of, nationalism. It's not really a talk. It's not really something we talk about that we are really pushing in many of our countries. Anyway, I'll speak for my country. We have few courses we do in primary school talking about the nation and all of this, but I don't think we really have a culture where we are pushing a sense of pride in our nations, that people be like, I'm a proud Kenyan, I'm a proud um I'm a proud person from Malawi, I'm a proud person from Sudan and all of that. I think that's we have to review the mindset, and I think it can work through our education system, because the desire to come back comes from a place of strong pride in yourself and in your country. I've discussed with some people, and they're like, they don't want to have anything to do with Cameroon anymore. There are some people abroad that they really just they don't have any intention of ever coming back to their countries, because of maybe the things they went through, before they left. Maybe because they felt like the government never did anything reasonable for them. They struggled a lot, and since they found their way here in Europe, they feel like they're just going to be here forever and all of that. But on another sense, you can see some people that even despite the hardships of the country, they still like, okay, my issue is not with the country, my issue is with the government. Because if the government did better, the country would treat me better. So I feel like that we have a lot of education to do on that part, teaching people to how to love their countries and feel responsible for their countries. Then another thing is basically, if the economy is doing well, people won't live that much. People will still travel, but people won't live that much. If people found jobs, they won't live that much. There are people here in Europe, if they are paid half the amount, half the salaries they are having right now, they will be ready to go back to Africa. Many people are not here because they want to die here. There are a few people that are like, okay,
Yeah.
I really want to, I don't want to have anything to do with my country anymore. But those people, they are talking from a place of hurt. They have experienced some things, some very deep things that have just made them develop a hate for their countries. But to be candid, many people, if they had the same kind of opportunities, they wouldn't think twice before going back to Africa. If they were sure that going back to Africa, they will have the same or even less the salary, but something reasonable, many will go back. And I remember I had a discussion with one of my uncles. He came here, many years back, and he came with a scholarship or something. And he told me that back in his days, when Africans came, they went back to Africa after their studies. It was automatic. Literally, when they'll be traveling for studies, their families will be telling them, make sure you come back, don't stay there. And
Yeah.
they themselves, they didn't want to stay in these countries. They didn't want to stay in the West. They were like, okay, they were coming for education. And that is good. When people travel for education, they travel to learn. And why were they coming back? Because when they went back, they found jobs. They were sure that they will find an opportunity. What they have learned will be valued in the country. But today we have a scenario where you can be going back with a PhD, or I don't know. I mean, you can be going back with so much skills, 10 years experience, PhD, and you go to the country and people don't give a fuck. I mean, sorry for the expression, but like, you go, you drop your CVs. Some people might be like, interesting. Others might not employ you because they don't have the means to pay you the amount that your education is worth. They'll be like, you're really good and you are overqualified maybe for this opportunity, or I can't pay you what your diploma is worth. So that's the reason why some people aren't going back, is because of the economic situation. The opportunities are not present. Cameroon, for example, I can say for a fact, people are traveling out because of opportunity issues, economic opportunity yeah, literally that. I did engineering school before going into business. So I went to the National Advanced School of Public Works, one of the best in Central Africa. I studied civil engineering. So we are talking here about the school, a very competitive. I mean, the exam to get in is very competitive. So I got into this. We are about in the fifth year, about 80 something, and one quarter of my class is literally in France here with me,
Wow.
literally. So in our WhatsApp group, we're about 18 of us.
It shows you.
And I'm talking just about France. I'm not talking about Germany. I've not included just France. We are about 18 of us in our WhatsApp group. It's crazy to see that. Just imagine this great school where, some of the best students got into. They finished school. Many didn't find opportunities. I'm just really going to be honest with you. I remember I was discussing with one of them, because this is just I'm talking just about my batch. My batch,
Yeah.
a batch in front of me and behind me. They are so many of them are here. When they have weddings here, you will see. So I mean, literally, you will recognize school people doing the weddings and everything. They are here. Some didn't intend to travel after school, but 2 years, 3 years, they didn't find befitting jobs, and they were like, okay, I'm smart. One thing is certain: if I get here, everything is going to. I mean, I'm going to find something befitting. That's why they travel and they come. They travel that much. I had friends that had no intentions of traveling, not even to come and learn, what no intention at all. But after 3, 4 years experience, and they weren't able to have stable income, they decided that they were leaving the country. But every day, they keep talking things. They keep talking about the country. You can really feel like there is a love for the country, but they can't go back because
The country where they come from, the love
exactly,
for that. Okay. But you
exactly.
don't see them taking actions.
Now the actions on their part, yeah, now there is the action part, which is very important, and that's where it's important to listen to things maybe like what you're doing right now, and to be very informed about what's going on globally. So from where I see things, there is a lot going on the continent. There are actually a lot of opportunities. There are not opportunities. Why? Because we were not educated to be people that create opportunities. We were not created, but we were not educated, I mean, to be people that create opportunities. We have been educated to be people that take advantage of opportunities. So somebody else has to bring a company, or create or bring a multinational, then we go and work there. I think that's kind of the culture that we have, that our education teaches us to be people that work for. We don't create things for people to work for us or to work with us. So that's why, yeah, that's the mindset. That's why I say we really have to address the mindset issue, because while we are saying there are no opportunities in Africa, I'm rather seeing a lot of Westerners going to Africa because all they see in Africa is opportunity.
Uh, no, that's a very good one, because stories are always nice, because you are sharing with us what you have talked with your friends, and what what's going on, and those are the kind of things that will give us, that paint the picture for us, really, that we can go to people's mind why they are doing this and that. But yeah, so moving on, the very reason that brought us, that kind of inspired to prepare this discussion, is the post was one of the examples that you gave, was we African, so I have to say collectively African immigrants in the West, are we becoming a nightmare to the place where we come from. And the example is Kemi Badenoch, of this Nigerian politician who is a leader of the Conservative Party in UK, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So now on that, I have this question for you. We have, and then we have one last question. Let me just go to that. Look, we now have African-born leaders in the West, like Kemi Badeno, shaping
yeah,
uh, tough anti-immigrant policies, right? And it's
yeah.
not just her. We have seen this across Europe and the US. What do you think drives someone like Kemi to take such a hard line against migrants, including people from the same background she came from? Is this survival strategy or total disconnection?
First of all, I would say experience. I usually call it heartbreak. Okay. I like saying that our countries are our leaders are breaking our hearts, literally. this thing is really painful. I'm going to be honest. I've had times where just thinking about some situations, you could literally even have a tear in your eye. I think it's heartbreak. Maybe you have so experienced the failure of the system that it grooms a hate in you for the country, for the country where you come from. So that's the first one, experience. Now, in her case, or maybe the cases of the other people, I think they literally just smart people that have decided not to associate with mediocrity. And because they have decided not to associate with mediocrity, and they are following a certain pace, if I can put it like that. For example, being a politician, I mean, being a black politician in Europe, I don't think it should it's an obvious shoe to wear. So because you are black, people might always want to remind you you are Nigerian, you are Cameroonian, you are this and you are that. And sometimes just because you want to make sure that they don't associate you with your country of origin anymore, you might have sometimes, very strong stance against them to make the people, the ones that you are working for right now, to know that you don't have anything to do with them anymore. So I just feel like it's a blend of these two things. Huge disappointment because she has lived in the system somehow, so she kind of knows what maybe people are going through in Nigeria, and she feels like, I don't want to have anything to do with this country anymore. Then on another part, maybe the fact that people might keep reminding her you're Nigerian, who do you think you are to want to take such important roles in our country, and she might just want to remind them that I don't have anything to do with this country anymore. I don't like them, or I don't want to be associated with them. Maybe I think she best knows her reasons, but personally, I think if I'm to compare with the people I know that don't want to have anything to do with their countries anymore, the heartbreak issue, and maybe just the desire to prove to people that you have moved on from where or from who you were, kind of.
Okay, now I really, if you allow me, I have one a kind of a follow up question, one last question. So I'll go quickly. Look, it's about this human tendency to turn against immigrants. So I'm trying to get to the basis of this, because it's not only Kemi, but they not, because there are also many others. In fact, what they say is there are many African immigrants in the US who do not want to come Africans or any other immigrants to the United States, and they basically support Trump's policy. So where does this come from? There must be a theory. So now on that one, look, Trump is, for example, a grandson of a German immigrant, as we all have seen recently, was that the German president gave him the birth certificate of his grandfather. Now, Elon Musk, on the other hand, also is born in South Africa. Many of the West's loudest, if you wish to say, anti-immigrant voices are immigrants themselves or the children of immigrants. Now, the question to you is this a human pattern? Do you think, is this a human pattern where people disown where they come from to gain acceptance? Or is it something deeper, something broken in how we raise our children to understand identity, loyalty, and legacy?
I like the second point you just said right now. That is it, the way we raised them. First of all, I'm going to be very honest with you.
Please.
Immigrate. I don't blame people that have strong stance against immigration. I don't. I totally understand them, and it's totally understandable.
I
I
think
mean,
I am on the same page with you. Not I think, I know I'm on the same page with you, but I just want to hear the reasoning. Go on.
yeah. Why? Because I mean, if you go back to your country, let's say Ethiopia, for example, then at some point you have the impression that, let me just say, which country is close to you guys? Let's just say Sudanese just come in crowding Ethiopia more and more. Then at some point you don't even know who is Ethiopian and who is, I mean, you look at Ethiopia and you have the impression that they're only Sudanese and stuff. I mean, at some point you're going to feel fed up. And it gets worse if at some point, if you can't find jobs anymore because maybe they're getting the jobs, they're getting the hottest spots, or maybe you can't have book a bus, or I don't know, book a service anymore because I mean the place is just saturated. It's normal that at some point you're just going to be irritated. I feel like immigration, the policies have their place. Frankly, I think we Africans somehow we are pushing it. Not just Africans. In America, they have the Mexicans and everything. That's why the immigration mostly concerns these populations: Africans, a little bit of Asians, and the Latinas. Why? Because somehow we are really like, instead of fixing your home, you are all packing your loads and you are coming to somebody else's house. I don't know if you see the correlation. So yeah, I feel like I don't have an issue with people putting up immigration policies. I honestly don't. I'm a Cameroonian. If at some point I felt like I had so many, I don't know, if I felt like at some point I couldn't identify or find my place anymore in my country because there are so many strangers, at some point I'm going to be fed up, literally. And we just have to recognize that humanity. We are not, this perfect, open, loving people that just, I'm creating space for anybody that wants to come in.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
you wouldn't, it makes you even to thank, or I don't know, to ask how much, how do you say, I don't know, I wouldn't say welcoming, but tolerate with
Yeah.
all the things that's going on with our society. The West is, with all this number increasing from year to year, and we call them racist, this and that. I mean, why should even they tolerate that this number of people that are coming from outside? Yes, at some point there are many reasons, because the country wanted, at some the West also is a double standard. At one point they tell you they don't want migration, but on the other hand, the reality is that there's no manpower in their country, so they want
Yeah.
it. Yeah, so please go on. I don't want to distract.
Yeah, so as I was saying, I don't really blame them. I feel like if we were in a system where Africa was comfortable for Africans, then we just had, once in a while, people who travel for education, they come back, or they travel for specific skills, they go, they help over there, and vice versa. People won't need to have these strict immigration rules. They are only making the rules or the policies stricter because we are kind of pushing it somehow. Everybody just wants to leave. And personally, I feel like it should call for, we should have some sense of pride as Africans as well. We should have a sense of pride in the sense that, I mean, find a way to fix your home, or find a way to make your home comfortable. So yes, travel. I really advocate for Africans to be explorers, explore the world as well. For those who can, I mean, there are people who can explore. Before you say, I'm carrying everything to go and settle in Canada, go there for holiday or something, and you know, explore the place first. I think that's something that we really need to look into. Now, talking about the descendants of immigrants that are participating actively in this, these laws and everything, does it have to do with education? Yeah, still somehow, because I mean, if you educate someone, you are from a place, let's say you are from Ethiopia, then tomorrow your daughter is talking about, or your son is talking so harshly about Ethiopia. That is so demeaning. It's it's um it's really heartbreaking, no matter what they might have gone through. I'm not in the sense I want to point fingers, but when it's even worse in front of strangers. I mean, that your own child, will be saying such things about the country where you were born, where your parents are coming from. I mean, where your parents are buried or your grandparents are buried. It's kind of sad. So maybe it has to do with education. I mean, people need to have at least a sense of respect for where you're coming from. You have the right to be mad about one or two things, but you should have a certain respect for where you are coming from. I think that's just basic. I think it's just basic manner, if I can put it like that. But you should have a minimum respect for where you're coming from. I mean, the fact I know there's so many things going on in my country right now, but at the end of the day, it's my country. There are certain things I can't say about Cameroon in front of strangers. It's my country, kind of. And it will hurt me that my child would tomorrow be somebody that is, literally throwing my country under the bus because of this or that. I know there are many things are not going on right, but we should really, we should educate our children to know that yes, things are not the best, things could be better, but abstain yourself from some kind of stuff. You don't have to downgrade your country like that. Then I think I'll conclude with this nice thing that I heard. I don't really remember where I heard it, but it really touched me. That no matter how important you become, you always carry the shame of Africa on you. Meaning that it does not matter whether you're in the US, the UK, or whatever. Even if you become the president or I don't know, no matter how rich you become in these countries, you will always carry the shame of Africa on you. People at the end of the day are still going to say this is an African kind of. So if you're not fixing Africa, thinking that you are making yourself a place in this, developed world and everything, at the end of the day, when people see you, your accent might be as clean as I mean, it might be as identical to theirs as possible. You might look or I mean dress and all you want, but when people will see you maybe with your color some way somehow, they're still going to be like, behind closed doors or something, that African or that whatsoever. When they will see things going on in Africa, when they'll be talking about Africa is poor, they will still identify you to Africa. So people should not be quick to, close the door on where they're coming from. Of course, when you are welcomed into a country, you have to respect the place that have welcomed you, integrate. Don't forget where you are coming from. And that should be a source of wealth. It shouldn't be a place for you to downgrade your country. It should be something that gives you an upper hand because you have the beauty and the culture of your country of origin, and you also have this advantage of knowing how it functions here. Just imagine having that dual. I mean, you can navigate in Africa, you can navigate in Europe. That's strength. That is a lot of strength. It's not about coming to Europe and forgetting where you are coming from, and you become so embedded in the system, and your children so embedded that you completely forget about the strength that you can have as an African. As Black people, we have our pluses too. We are not just a burden. We are not just people with people that are loud or people that look a certain way. I mean, we have pluses as well, and that's something that we should be able to navigate. We should be proud of. I should be proud of being able to go to Cameroon and be able to, fit into the mass without any difficulty. I can do business, understand people, they can understand me without an issue, and also be able to blend well in the corporate world, in the Western setup. Being in the setup and people not having an idea or not even having a clue that I mean, being able to navigate all of this, being multicultural person is a strength. And I don't know why we as Africans, we just want to dump our African part when we come here. And yeah, so that's literally how I see it. Education, we need to educate our young ones that you have a strength also. You don't just have this culture that you are growing in. Maybe you are in, I don't know, you spoke about the Netherlands. You don't just have the Netherlands culture, you have a plus. You have the Ethiopian culture. I mean, you have interesting meals, you
Thank
have
you.
and all of that. Yeah. So
Thank
we
you.
should, yeah, leverage on that.
Yeah, really, I will leave it on that. But thank you really for pointing out that, because this is what I am trying to tell my children to realize it actually at early age. Being multiculturalism is an asset
Yeah.
wherever you are. It is an asset, and I can even, because there's a lot of ideas that I bring, and and tell my children what they can do in the future, how they have more leverage even than me. And the thing is that the benefit is for the government there where you come from, for your root, or the African country from wherever you come, and also this country as well, regardless of what citizenship you pick, actually. Uh,
Yeah.
so thank you for saying that. Multicultural, we have to celebrate being multiculturalism, multicultural. It should be, it's something, it's actually the next thing of this world. There will be a lot of people with, multicultural background.
I didn't get you. I think it hurt.
So I think this multiculturalism, you hear me now?
Yeah, I do.
That will be the next thing of this world, because there will be a lot of people with multicultural background. And so yeah, with that, thank you very much, Sister Josanne, for being here. So I will say, Josanne, thank you for bringing honesty and clarity to a conversation that's too often clouded, and then clouded by blame and emotion. If we truly care the future of our continent, Africa, we have to stop outsourcing our hope and start building the kind of systems that make our people want to stay. So to our viewers here, I would like to say, if we keep failing at home, we will keep losing at in abroad as well. So
Exactly.
yeah, let's
Yes.
fix what we must while we still can. So until next time, stay bold, stay grounded, and stay building wherever you are, because you can. Thank you so much. And it might be the first time, but for sure not the last time. Thanks again, and bye-bye.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye. And Mike Royal, thank you for all your inputs. I have read it, and all of you here. Please send me an email, because it looks like you have a lot of ideas about this. So send me an email with the email that I have mentioned there. Thanks. Ciao.
Ciao.